One. Can you hear me okay? Yes? Thank you. Well, welcome to our final town hall of the semester, but more importantly, our final town hall with David. We put together a little slideshow that you all saw when you were coming in, and that's on behalf of the campus, the students, the faculty, and the staff and community hour. We are immensely grateful for your leadership. And as I've already told you, you are the best president I've worked under. So I'm sure many people in this room can echo those sentiments. And the community hour really wanted to take today and have the opportunity to hear from, I'll tell you David, for me, soon David. So he's going to be sharing some reflections from his time with us. So we've had some questions come in. We'll ask at the end, but we will spend some time with David. And then we also have cupcakes to celebrate at the end. So don't leave without grabbing a cupcake and really joining in some festivities. Thank you so much, Dr. Coon. You're 13 wonderful years.
Hopefully you can hear me okay. And I really do appreciate you all taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here. I actually first did this at the retiree lunch we had in September. We do an annual retiree luncheon for retirees. And I thought, for my own sake, I kind of went back and looked at the last 13 years and what were some highlights that I wanted to share. And in no particular order, and I certainly do look forward to your questions. A lot's happened in 13 years. A lot has happened in 13 years. But I'm going to start with accreditation, right? Why would I start with accreditation? I mean, it's because A, right, accreditation, you do it alphabetical order. But we have had our challenges with accreditation over the years. And in fact, in 2010, we were what I refer to as we were in accreditation purgatory, right? We were on probation. And I had a whole lot of work to do, and I always take the opportunity to thank Sarah McKinnon, Yolanda Bellissimo for having already gotten the troops going and working on that. But fast forward, we've done a number of different self-study reports over the years, midterm progress reports. But for the students' sake, why is accreditation important, right? If we weren't accredited, your degrees, your certificates, the credits you earn would have zero value, right? So that's why accreditation is so important and why we take it so seriously here. And I just want to fast forward and say, not quite yet, back. Okay. Fast forward to the self-study we just submitted. Okay, we just submitted this in September. Is that right, September? August, right? You want to feel good about the state of the college currently, go and read that ICER, right? Truly. And in fact, we have one core inquiry. We have a visiting team coming in March to visit us. And we have a sense that the core inquiry actually could turn out to be a commendation for the college. So give yourselves a big round of applause for everybody who had any work. Our two most recent co-chairs sitting in the back there, Carrie and Meg, appreciate them. They have a lot of people involved in this. So if you go back to 2010, next slide, please. Some of you that have been around a long time, and some of you have been around a long time, the folks that are in here, may recall seeing this Pacific Sun cover. I'll read it for you. It says, a faculty seething with resentment, an administration under fire, students left holding the fuse. Is College of Marin gonna blow, right? Things were pretty tense around here in 2010, and it had been for quite a long time. I think the faculty at that time hadn't had a new contract in 4 years. There was a lot of tension, a lot of people at each other. And I can tell you, I did my homework when I applied for the job, but had I seen this, I'm not sure I would have taken the job, to be honest with you. So now I work with aspiring CEOs and I tell them all the things I learned about where to really get the true information about the status of the college before you apply. Well, it took us a while to get from here to here. A lot of hard work and a lot of trust building and a lot of celebrating each other. So I really feel like bridging that gap between here and here was the efforts of a lot of people. And I just want to thank everybody and acknowledge your work that you did there. Okay, slide. So those of you, again, that have been around a long time, and those of you that are relatively new to the college, we have done a lot of transforming of the physical aspects of both campuses in the last number of years. Measure C, which passed actually in 2004, really the work on Measure C didn't get started until about 2007, because there really hadn't been, for lack of a better word, a real solid plan in place. And that was $249.5 million that we invested in both campuses. I want to comment on two projects in particular. The first one, go ahead and hit the slide. Main building at the Indian Valley campus. That was my first official duty in 2011, started in 2010 in December. 2011, we cut the ribbon on that building. It was one of the rainiest nights I recall. And I tell the story that I had my umbrella from Seattle. I had it for 5.5 years. So when you live in Seattle, you replace your umbrellas a couple of times a year, right? Because somebody took my umbrella home that night, and I had to get a new umbrella. And so that was one. It was a great event that evening. That was the first of the ribbon cuttings that we did. And all of these major projects, we ended then with in 2015 with the Academic Center. You can go ahead and hit the slide. Academic Center. And here we are celebrating the capstone project of Measure C. Some of you may recognize some folks in here. When we finished up Measure C, we took the opportunity to invite everybody that had been involved in Measure C back, right? All the trustees that were still around. You see former President Fran White's there. And if you notice on this particular building, the monument sign in this building has all of our names on it, right? Anybody who had been involved in the whole Measure C project, you'll see that one downstairs on the first floor of the Academic Center. So next slide. We celebrated, but at the end of Measure C, after spending $249.5 million, we realized we needed more money. We weren't done. The projects weren't done. So in 2016, we went out for Measure B. I'm not sure why they went in backward order, but that was $265 million. And you can see there we are celebrating the passage of that. 265 and lots of work has happened. Let's see what we have next here. Next slide. A lot of what so Measure C, Measure B, we ended up, again, $265 million. We actually invested $93.5 million in the revitalization of the Indian Valley campus. If you haven't been there in a while, I really encourage you to go take a look. Of course, there was the Jonas Center was involved in that. You can go next slide. Here we are cutting the ribbon on the Jonas Center, $18.5 million. It is the hottest event center, according to the Marin IJ in the county. You can tell we were still in the middle of COVID there. We also completed the Miwok Aquatic and Fitness Center, 22,000 square feet. So haven't been there. This also includes the dive tower, $8.5 million donation that made that possible. Any guesses on the amount of water in the 3 pools? 1.238 million gallons of water in those pools up there. Okay, next one. So part of what has made the revitalization of the Indian Valley campus possible is some of our many partnerships. Now, not all of these obviously take place at Indian Valley, but we obviously have had the benefit of great partnerships working with us. The newest up there currently is our new Fire Foundry program that we'll be looking forward to. That's the old building 17. The old library, the original library, will be converted, and that will be housing for firefighters, seasonal firefighters. And they're also going to have some training centers on there. So with that partnership, I think that we have done all that we can do to revitalize the Indian Valley campus. I think we can check those boxes very handily. Okay, this is our Fire Foundry, and go ahead, next slide. Finally, Joe, I'm glad you're here. Bolinas Center. If you would have told me we would be where we're at today with the Bolinas Center back in 2010, I didn't think we'd get there, let's just say that. And if ever we talk about a project where we hit reset, a lot of things we thought we knew about Bolinas that were not accurate. And so by just taking a fresh step and looking back, I think you can see the next slide of where we're headed. Nope. Did I not have a slide in there? Go back. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time seeing the slides here. This, by this time, well, about a year from now, 18 months from now, is that right, guys? 18 months from now, we'll be cutting the ribbon on the new Bolinas Center. So give everybody a round of applause for Bolinas. In addition to the funding for Measure B, we will be using $2.5 million of funds that were raised by individual donations. So really appreciate that. It's going to be an exciting new center out there. Lots going on. Okay, next. Okay, this is just one I wanted to put up there to say that we were good. This is one for the taxpayers, right? We refinanced in a number of different cases our bonds over the years. And in doing so, we will have saved the taxpayers a combined $46 million in money that they would have otherwise had to have spent paying back the bonds. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Okay, next slide. So a little thing called the foundation. About 2011, the foundation board decided at that time, the foundation had been an independent foundation for 50 years, right? Raised lots of money, lots of support for the students. And all of a sudden, they got nervous when I said that we wanted to raise more money, right? I wanted to actually create an advancement office, hire staff to raise more money. So in doing so, all of a sudden, all of the board members of the foundation resigned, leaving myself and then the board chair at the time responsible. It took about 10 years to get that mess cleaned up. And I'm really fortunate and pleased to say that we now have an auxiliary foundation that is a part of the college and is not legally independent any longer. But the good news is when they left us in a mess in 2010, we had $5.2 million in assets, and we now have $14.4 million in assets. So it's pretty amazing. So I think that's worthy of a round of applause. So one of the true privileges that a college president has through the board of trustees is the naming of things. And on occasion, we've named a program, we've named the rooms, we've named some different kinds of things. And I've only taken advantage of that privilege 5 times in 18 and a half years as being a president. Once at Evergreen Valley College, we named the Mauro Chavez Student Center, and then 4 times now here at the College of Marin. First, of course, honoring the James Dunn Theater in 2013. Obviously, I don't think Jim needs any introductions. 50 plus years here, directing plays and teaching drama here at the college. And now about where Jim is there is where the bronze bust of him is that hangs in the theater there. So it was a very special night. That was was it the opening or closing night of Big River? I don't remember if it was the opener or the closer. It was opening night. It was a wonderful celebration. My dear friend Ethel Siderman here. We named the Ethel Siderman Institute for Excellence in Early Education. Sad story about this is this almost didn't happen that night. There was a little bit, I messed up the process, you know. I didn't follow the process to the T. And we almost decided, well, we would wait a month and bring it back. Ethel died a week later. So it was a good thing that we didn't do that, right? And the board, fortunately, trusted me to say, I'll get it right the next time. And we got it right the next time. But 1 week from here, Ethel had passed away. So it was a good thing at that night, we did that. Next slide. This gentleman also probably needs no introduction to many. He worked for Robert Thompson. Bob Thompson was an employee at the college for over 50 years. Every year at the retiree luncheon, he'd stand up and he'd be the one that had been here the longest, most service to the district. Sadly, he passed away in October 2020, but the courtyard down by the M&O building is named in Bob's name. There's this wonderful photo, or actually, it's actually a painting. I think his sister had this painting done. It hangs down there as well. I really encourage you to go see that. And then, of course, in 2022, in the middle of the pandemic, actually starting to come out of it, we named the Don Barksdale basketball court. And last week was, of course, the Barksdale homecoming. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Don Barksdale was one of the first African Americans to break the color barrier and play professionally in the NBA. He is considered to be one of our most significant alums. I played basketball here from 1941 to 1943. Then he went on to be the first African American to play on the U.S. Olympic team. And then at 28, he was the first Black man to play in the NBA and one of the highest paid at the time. So it's a wonderful opportunity we've had to dedicate the basketball court in his name. Clearly, I'm out of my element here with the that. And then just the week before last, we honored Louis and Ro Bershad, the nursing wing. It was a wonderful ceremony. Some of our nurses are here today. They have become our single most active, single largest active donors, which means they're still alive, okay? Because we have had some larger gifts that we've received from people that after they've passed. I will say that he's a 1960 graduate of the college and has been a very significant supporter of drama, business, EOPS at times, the food shelter, and most recently now they're shifting all of their resources behind nursing, which is certainly a worthy cause. But a wonderful celebration there just the week before last. If you go into the SMN building, it's the wing right to your right, you'll see it on the wall there. So excellent. Okay, so let's hear it for our 4 folks that we've named things after here at the college. Okay, move on to the next one. So y'all remember right in the middle of the pandemic, it was about a year before we were contacted by the chancellor's office and they wanted to meet with us, and we had this meeting. This is before the pandemic. And they said, well, we were one of 2 colleges being considered for the Dr. John W. Rice Award. And at the time, they were very interested in what we were doing. So we met with them and shared with all kinds of different initiatives that we had going on, the learning communities and all the other efforts that are embedded throughout. And of course, then the pandemic happened and we didn't hear anything, right? They just kind of went dark, and I kind of just thought we wouldn't get it, or that they just moved on and probably they'd skip that year and so forth. If you don't know, Dr. Rice was an educator, a reverend, and member of the California Community College Board of Governors from 1992 until 2000, and he was a leader in the world of diversity and equity in our system. He's also the father of Dr. Condoleezza Rice, of course, you recognize that name. But this award came to us out of 116 colleges. We received the award for having the greatest improvement in our student outcomes, the students of color, as well as our efforts in hiring and diversifying our faculty and staff. So we were very proud of that. So it just so happens that in 2008, I was president of Evergreen Valley College, and we also received the award. So a good buddy of mine, Tamil Gilkerson, who's president there, met me during the pandemic for a drink, and in halfway, she brought the other one up, I brought the other one, we took a photo together so that they were, I'd have one photo of the 2. So I was very, very proud of that, having the opportunity. And look how different the awards are. It was I'm not sure what this was over here. A falcon, something of that nature. It was very heavy though, I remember that. So anyway, so that's the Dr. John W. Rice. I credit many, many people in this room for us having that designation. So give yourselves a round of applause on that one. Okay, this next one. Now, this is a little controversial for some, but you may recall in the middle of the pandemic, I got this email saying, have you seen the Forbes article in Forbes magazine and so forth, where we'd been named, number 1 and number 5 and all that. And I kind of poo-pooed it because I thought, okay, just the week before I'd gotten this solicitation saying you could like buy your name. You remember the who's, some of the people my age remember you could buy your name and get it in the book, right? But tiny little, here's this book. I kind of poo-pooed it. And so I asked the team to take a look at it to see what this really was, right? And it basically is done by a group called Academic Impressions. And so they go through all these databases and see the number of times that in this case, the College of Marin is mentioned, right? And it could be attached to an article that somebody did. Joe does an article and it appears in a journal. That's a hit, right? You could talk about one of the alums that we've had. That's a hit, right? And all this. It was a little difficult to wrap your head around. But in the end, I didn't care. Let me tell you why I didn't care. Because I thought, okay, here we are in the middle of a pandemic and morale was pretty damn low, right? And I thought, what an opportunity to raise everybody up, celebrate this, right? And so, it was number 1 out of 116 California community colleges, number 5 out of 840. So yeah, we leveraged it for a little bit of marketing, but for me, it was more of a morale boost. That's really what I was using it for, was to help raise everybody up during this really dark period of time when we were all at home trying to get through the pandemic, right? So I just thought I'd put that up there because I wanted the opportunity to tell why I hung our hat on that for a little while. Okay, next slide. So never in my world would I've ever thought that as a college president that I would say, we bought a fitness center, we bought a Chinese restaurant, we bought a bank. We bought all three, right? If you don't know. This was the old Kentville Fitness. This is where the home of Reprographics is currently at. And the Welcome Center, well, and then we also bought so this is 941. We also bought 937 and 939. 937 was the spiritual advisor. The 939 was the Chinese restaurant that was about to fall off the hill. And then there was a house behind it. So the idea here for that particular two plots of property is in the future having the opportunity to expand there for some housing for faculty and staff, some in short-term employee housing. We have no money for that right now. There's no money budgeted for it, but those are some renderings of what it would look like if we were to do that. And then, of course, the bank. How'd the bank come about? The bank came about because we were designing the Learning Resources Center, right? And it was the costs kept going up and up and up, right? So we looked at, all of a sudden, the bank, we realized the bank across the street, what bank was that? Remember? Union Bank, yep, was for sale. And in essence, we looked at, well, what if we took some of what was planned to be on the LRC out and put it over in the bank, right? Well, the bank is pretty, it's great for transactional business, right? There's 22 parking spaces, right? And easy for students to get in and out, go pay their bills, register for courses, whatever it might be. And so basically, it was 50 cents on the dollar by the bank as it would have been to put that same amount of square footage into the new building. So it was I thought a pretty good business decision, right? And it makes a great welcome center, right? So in essence, everything that was in the welcome center currently would have been in the LRC building. That's why we did that. Okay, next slide. So here we have all of our employees. And I always say, and especially as I'm winding down and winding things up, is that I often get a lot of credit for what happens at the college, right? And I always say, people from me, that it's really a team effort, right? Because all these folks on the front lines are really the ones that get the job done. But I thought you might be interested to know that since January, when I first started doing hiring, we've hired 382 full-time employees since January 2011. And among that group is approximately 110 full-time faculty, 217 classified professionals, and 49 managers. And of course, another important population, you've always heard me say at convocations, we couldn't do what we do without our important part-time employees. We've hired almost 1,200 part-time employees since that time as well. So we've done a lot of hiring of people, right? Lots of hiring of people. And then why do we do what we do? Where's the next slide? All these smiling faces. These photos were taken, this is when I knew we were back from the pandemic. I knew we were back when I saw these photos and all these folks celebrating outside in this area out here. And that's really, for me, why we do what we do, right? It's been rewarding for me in particular to see how our student body has diversified so significantly since 2011. I can visually see it on campus. And each year, of course, we have about 400 students who complete degrees and transfers, degrees and transfer. And this last spring, we had the largest number of students participate in graduating in commencement in recent history. So that's very exciting as well. The next slide, these are learning communities. And I think that it's a testament to all of you, all of us, that we are able to have such vibrant learning communities and that we're able to celebrate our various cultures of our students. And I hope people don't take that for granted, because that's not the way it is everywhere, right? We have the opportunity here and we've embraced it. Our most recent, of course, is Mi Familia, Mesa before that, MAPS before that, Umoja, and then Puente. Puente's been around the longest, but it's, I think, just a testament to what the work we do here together is so wonderful. So I also wanted to mention, before we open it for questions, and I'll answer a couple questions that were posed to me. So we have April 6th, 2026 will be our centennial celebration, 100 years. Wouldn't have been for the pandemic, I probably could have made it. Probably could have made it across the finish line. But we have seated a steering committee. You may recognize the names of Kathy Joyner, Anna Pilliton, Carl Cox, Luann Mullen, Keith Rosenthal, and Nicole Cruz. and Mimi, the party planner. That's the steering committee, and they're going to be expanding and including more people as well. We've also seeded it with $150,000 of funding. And you may be hearing some more about the opportunities that will come along with that as the centennial happens. So I think it's going to be exciting. 100 years is a long time, right? And so much to celebrate here, you know, with the, you know, by physically transforming what we do, we really are able to transform what we do for students inside the classrooms as well, with state-of-the-art facilities and the like. So just a few highlights. I'm happy to answer the questions. Are the questions on there? Oh. What do you feel was the key to making you such an incredibly great college president? Yeah, I'm not sure about the judgment piece on that, but I would say if I've had any success, it's because I've taken the work seriously, but not myself too seriously. You know, I'm pretty self-deprecating humor. You know, I mean, I take the work seriously, but I don't take myself too seriously. That would be my short answer on that. What words of wisdom would you give your 21-year-old self? I think it's a sign of growing older, but I said this to the students for the first time at commencement last year, is like, every day goes by a little bit quicker than the day before. And that is the absolute truth. And every year goes by a little bit quicker than the year before. So I would have probably, my 21-year-old self, about the time I was graduating from college, I probably would have taken a year off and traveled. What do they call it? A skip year, leap year, gap year. Yeah, well, I graduated from university with 180 units right on the nose. I was ready to go to work, and I've had the good fortune of not being employed. I've not been unemployed since I was 13 years old. So that's probably why I'm ready to do something different. Can you please share the top priorities that the next superintendent president conference should tackle in the first 100 days? Here, interestingly enough, this is my outline for next week. Actually, it's later this week. I'm doing a session for aspiring CEOs, and the first half of the session is on contract negotiations. The second half is on the first 100 days, right? It's based on a book called The First 90 Days, a guy named Michael Watkins. And so this is what I would encourage Jonathan, and this is what I'll be encouraging people attending my session on Thursday. It talks about the takeaways are really kind of getting a game plan, right? Having a game plan, not just having a plan in place. It's a mindset and a game plan. It's about establishing a learning agenda. So if you know that you're not particularly strong, I'll just pick something, finance or whatever it might be that's a part of the job, really having a plan for learning, a learning agenda. Defining goals. I know Jonathan has already started to meet with the trustees. And so having a real clear set of defining goals that are mutually agreed upon by the board is really essential. And then another really essential piece is building coalitions, both internal and external coalitions, because it's those coalitions that will help you, get the job done essentially. So those would be my recommended top priorities for the first 100 days. Okay, I think that's it as far as questions go, right? I'm open to questions from the floor. Oh.
Microphone. I don't know how much we need it. I have a question for Dr. I'd actually like to add, if we can, my staff, we do this thing called appreciation. And in our staff meeting, we will appreciate. So I'm wondering and inviting folks that have an appreciation question. Be a nice person we're going to. So like to share. Oh, it's more of a question. Okay, question or.
Favorite part of being a president while he was whenever I was with students, to be honest with you, and again, it was a quiet place around here during the pandemic. There's a few of us that were here, and well, the majority were, so it was a lonely place around here. So that's why I pushed those photos up that I did, because for me, that gave me the energy I needed again, get through the rest of the pandemic. Anytime with students. Unfortunately, this job, you have to be mindful of that because it's easy to spend a lot of time away from students. I joke, I always ask what week of the semester it is, but I don't, I'm not on this semester schedule or anything like that. And so you have to be mindful of that. Thank you for your question.
I was just told we do need to use the mic because folks on YouTube cannot hear us. So if you have a question or appreciation, welcome it now.
So David, tell us honestly, who are you going to miss the most?
Every I thought you were going to ask me for my list of shouldn't have done that. I think there's one. What am I looking forward to most about retirement? Making my health a priority again, having the time to do that. For the first 3 to 6 months, I'm going to just literally clean my house, meaning like, well, we basically have 2.5 households that have moved into one. So I got 3 bullet blenders, I got a couple ironing boards, anyway. And then getting my head in order, just clearing my head. Then from there, perhaps do some consulting and the like. But not being accountable to anybody, yeah. Well, I mean, if you do this job right, honestly, the only time I've not been on the grid literally for more than a day is when I took my sabbatical in 2017. You're on 24/7 basically, because if something happens at the college, you're going to get a call, right? Anyway.
What's up, Dr. Coon? It's your favorite, the one he will miss the most, in case anyone was wondering. It's me. But I just wanted to take a moment to, again, acknowledge you and thank you so much for seeing me and let you know I appreciate you for seeing me from when I was a student and the work that I was doing with Umoja, and for you truly being a person of humility and not taking yourself too seriously because, we banter. And showing up for students and really being of service, whether that is just taking a moment out of your very busy day or flipping pancakes and whatnot. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Hey.
Nakisha and Julian did an excellent job last Friday at the celebration. Really appreciated that. The MCs.
Dr. Coon, we, as the ASCOM board, are very grateful for you and all the work that you do. We are sad to see you go, but we are really grateful. One thing we are mostly sad about is why you did not come into the haunted house. I think we'd just like to leave on a note of just understanding why. I think we were all ready and prepared for you. But the next one, we'll make sure that you are, in there with us.
Deal. Yeah, they tried to get me into the haunted house, and I just, so I wasn't having that.
I'm always impressed at how you keep your cool in every single situation. Walk into a room and second question.
Well, in the short term, it'll be Palm Springs. Yeah, in the short term, Palm Springs.
And hello, Dr. Coon, I've worked at College of Marin more than 20 years. And I just want to say that since you came on board, the whole culture of the school changed over time for the better. I just felt such collegiality among people that I didn't even know before, and a lot of your new hires. I mean, the dream team librarians, for instance, just a lot of people I've connected with, and I just have felt such a positivity, and especially your support across the board. I personally have been the recipient of that support in some of my projects and in the work that I do. And I just want to thank you, because I think that's a beautiful legacy to leave us all. And it's here, even sadly, when you're not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we want to thank everyone for coming to support this wonderful day, this wonderful human. We also want to share that there is an opportunity to give on behalf of Dr. Coon for a scholarship. So we'll pull that up. There is a QR code that we'll put on here. So if you'd like to continue his legacy in more than one way, you can also do that. But thank you all. Please grab a cupcake, hang around, say your appreciation personally. But we are very grateful for you, Dr. Coon, and wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it.